On the fateful morning of August 6, 1945, the sky over Hiroshima trembled, as if heaven itself recoiled in horror. The United States, in a grim pact with destruction, unleashed a demon called Little Boy upon the innocent city. This atomic bomb, designed to detonate in a furious outburst before even touching the ground, hurtled toward a city of 350,000 souls, people unaware that their world was about to be consumed by a monstrous abyss. The explosion was no ordinary blast. It was a ravenous beast, a gaping maw of blinding light and searing heat, tearing through the fabric of reality, snatching away over 78,000 lives in an instant. But those who perished instantly in the treacherous flash may have been the lucky ones, for the survivors were condemned to wander a nightmare woven from the very threads of hell. The bomb's wrath was a symphony of annihilation, its shockwave a ghostly hand clawing through the heart of Hiroshima. Buildings collapsed as if begging for mercy, turning into smoldering skeletons, glowing with a strange, otherworldly light. The air was thick with the stench of burning flesh and molten stone, a toxic smoke that clung to the lungs like a curse. Within a 2-kilometer radius, every drop of water, rivers, ponds, even the sweat on human skin, was devoured by the bomb's greedy flames. The city became a barren wasteland, where the living were tormented by an unquenchable thirst, as if their very souls were being torn apart. Men, women, and children staggered through the ruins, mouths agape, yearning for water that no longer existed, their bodies shriveling as if sucked dry by a vampiric force. When the dust settled, a blood-red mist draped the city, born from the fires that danced like malevolent spirits among the ruins. The sun, once the lamp of life, was extinguished, suffocated beneath a shroud of smoke and ash, casting the landscape in hues of blood and despair. The streets, once alive with the rhythm of daily life, now lay silent, broken only by the crackle of lingering fires and the distant, ghostly moans. Hiroshima had become a dead city, its heartbeat replaced by the slow, relentless pulse of destruction. The ground itself seemed to throb with malevolence, as if the earth had absorbed the agony of the fallen and now whispered curses to those daring to tread upon it. Then came the rain, a pitch-black, greasy downpour falling like poisoned tears from a tainted sky. This was no ordinary rain, but a foul baptism, thick with radioactive dust and the dissolved souls of the city. Dreamscape, her lungs burning as if scorched by the breath of a devil. An unearthly thirst, like a summons from the underworld, tortured her, driving her to drink from a shattered water pipe. But the water, bitter and foul, seemed to carry the wails of vanishing souls. Stepping outside, she faced a blood-soaked world, a sky blazing red like the gates of hell, charred bodies piled high, and human-shaped cinders standing frozen, as if bound by dark magic. A hand, soft and aflame, with fingers flickering like demonic candles, made Akiko shudder. Melting flesh dripping into ghostly flames, as if the victim's soul still screamed within the inferno. Hiroshi Ito, emerging from the collapsed roof of his school, stepped into a pitch-black fog, where charred figures moved like puppets controlled by a wicked sorcerer. The nearby swimming pool had turned into a mass grave, schoolgirls lying dead at the water's edge, their flesh peeling, their eyes grotesquely swollen. Yet at times Hiroshi felt their vacant eyes following him, as if their souls had not departed, trapped inside ruined bodies. Across the river, he saw crowds hurl themselves into the water, only to be devoured by flames and debris, as if a river demon dragged them into the abyss. The ground beneath him ignited spontaneously, and through the smoke and dust he glimpsed shadowy figures, whispering curses, luring him deeper into the nightmare. Yashikata, 13 years old, escaped the rubble, only to face the colossal mushroom cloud towering above, a demonic god enthroned in the sky. All around him, blackened arms protruded from the rubble, scratching at his legs, like trapped spirits begging for deliverance. In terror he kicked them away, but the groaning from those broken hands echoed in his mind, a ghostly chorus of despair. Elsewhere, Mrs. Sasaki clutched her daughter, witnessing a man running past, his leg bone exposed, tapping the street like a death dance. The clicking sound merged with a raspy laughter from somewhere within the smoke, as if a demon mocked the remnants of life. Father Matthias, lost among the ant people, a shuffling mass of the wounded, saw an unborn child twitching inside the body of a dead mother, as if manipulated by some infernal force, causing him to stagger back, overwhelmed by supernatural dread. Each story was a fragment of the nightmare, a grotesque mosaic where demons danced among the ashes, and the survivors carried Hiroshima's curse within them, forever haunted by the ghosts of the apocalypse. After Hiroshima's firestorm, the city was no longer a place for the living. It had become an underworld, where burned souls still wandered, screaming through the drifting ash. Bare concrete pillars stood like silent tombstones, marking a graveyard without end. The initial death was horrific enough, but the specter of little boy refused to release its grip, casting a radioactive curse that stretched the agony across endless years. The Hibakusha, the survivors, carried not only bleeding wounds, but were trapped inside a supernatural nightmare, where the wails of demons blended with the memories of apocalypse, haunting them like an unbreakable curse. Radiation sickness became an invisible demon, gnawing at the bodies of the Hibakusha, vomiting, clumps of hair falling away, and burns that would never heal, transformed them into living corpses, tormented by a malevolent force flowing through their blood. Infections spread like the whispers of death. Organs failed and cancer lurked in every shadow, stealing lives in unbearable pain. Those who had escaped the initial fire now faced a slow, creeping death, as if the bomb still shrieked within their bones. Hiroshima became a living purgatory, where every breath reminded the survivors they had been cursed, forced to pay the price for humanity's sins with their own fragile lives. Rescue operations were not acts of salvation. They were journeys into the realm of the dead. Soldiers and volunteers entered Hiroshima carrying stretchers, only to find a city possessed by demons. At ground zero they encountered carbonized human figures, standing upright as if frozen by sorcery, crumbling into ashes at the lightest touch. One woman, driven mad, clutched the swollen corpse of her child, howling sounds that resembled calls from the underworld. Another victim, sitting in a pool of blood, desperately tried to stuff her spilled intestines and stillborn fetus back into her body, grinning with a ghastly, unnatural smile, as if possessed by a demon. Amid the smoke, rescuers swore they heard raspy laughter, as if the burned souls mocked their futile attempts to save anyone. Every step brought new visions from hell, where demons danced through the ruins, dragging the living deeper into a vortex of supernatural terror. The minds of both survivors and rescuers were shattered by Hiroshima's curse. Father Matthias, haunted by the screams of 3 children trapped atop a collapsed building, heard their voices in his dreams, like spirits begging to be freed. Soldiers like Shigo Shimoyama could never